Okay. Over the past 50 years, we've seen a 400% increase in natural disasters and conflict around the world. In fact, the hallmark of these conflicts has been displacement. Over the past 10 years, we've seen a doubling of the number of refugees and displaced persons, going from 60 million to 120 million today. If you look at the bottom right there, you'll see Zatri refugee camp in Jordan, home to about 100,000 Syrian refugees, half of them children. The thing about Zatri is that it's a city. It just doesn't have the infrastructure to support it. The changing context of humanitarian crises is challenging humanitarian organizations to keep up. This paradox is felt by all, the Red Cross, United Nations, and NGOs. I know this because I spent the past 20 years delivering aid all around the world, in Sudan, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Haiti. And that's why I founded Adonic. Adonic is a fintech, particularly for the public sector, focused on humanitarian organizations, NGOs, and their donors. These organizations are seeking to be much more efficient in this new paradigm. And one way they're doing that is through cash-based assistance. So instead of giving in-kind assistance, we give people cash, and they sort themselves out, buying the things that they need based on their own priorities: food, medicine, water, whatnot. And at Adonic, we want to ensure that all these organizations can make payments in countries at risk, no matter the crisis, no matter the country, no matter the people, and make sure that those people can use those funds for their basic needs. So here in the States, you can use Venmo. You can make payments easily in multiple currencies. It's like sending a text message. Of course, in Somalia, Sudan, etc., it's not safe, it's not secure, and it's highly problematic. So what we do at Adonic is we make sure that even the unbanked, those without cell phones, those without ID cards, can still receive cash-based assistance regardless where they are. The literature tells us it's clear. Cash-based assistance is more effective and more efficient. And so at Adonic, we are partnering with organizations like our companies like AWS, Near Protocol, and Visa to not only bring efficiency to cash-based assistance, but also to the entire value chain. So we use blockchain, for example, to track the payment, the donation, from the first mile all the way to the last mile. And we take that hyper-accurate and trustworthy data, and we use AI to report it back to the donor in the form of an NFT, giving them complete certainty that their donation was used exactly the way it was intended. In this way, we can innovate in a space where even the hardest organizations are struggling to make payments. Our innovation is to put AI into the hands of humanitarians so that they can save lives, because the only certainty they have is that saved time is saved lives. My name is Joel Kaiser. I work for Adonic. Thanks for listening.
So we're open to feedback and questions from Tom and Amy.
I can start. Thanks so much for the presentation, and also, this is just a really great area of work. Also, thanks to everyone for joining us today. So maybe starting with a couple of questions. I think first of all, I'm wondering without you guys, I guess, what services are these organizations currently using for payment transfer, and then, since it is AI-donic, where is AI embedded in the product?
Yeah, so all of those payments are typically flagged, particularly when they're going to countries that are at high risk. And so we use AI to comb through all that data, not only to identify who are the people most at risk, but also to make sure that those payments have the exact hyper-accurate data so they don't get flagged, so that a payment that could take just hours to make won't take days to make because it's been flagged on AML lists or anti-terrorism, money laundering lists. And so the AI just allows us to comb through that data much more faster, so we can go from thousands of payments per hour to millions of payments per hour. And you can imagine, in a sudden onset disaster, that's extremely important because time is lives.
Got it. Okay, so you're using the existing payment rails, so something like a Visa Direct, so there's no on and off ramp through the blockchain. You then send the transaction through, but before it goes through, you run AI to figure out if this transaction and this transaction will trigger AML or KYC or whatever it is, and you reconfigure that transaction so it will go through.
Exactly.
And then you record that transaction on a blockchain and then summarize the results of that blockchain so it goes back to the person who sent the money. Is that right? Yeah?
Yes, perfect. And we do that on a massive scale. So again, we're not talking about thousands of transactions, we're talking about millions of transactions, and it's anytime there's a catastrophe, it just mushrooms up. And so you have to be able to move into highly risky countries that are having an earthquake or a conflict. A good example was last year in Ukraine. You know, we had all these refugees coming across the border. Some of them had identity documents, some didn't. Some had bank accounts, some didn't. Some had mobile phones, some didn't. And so each transaction is a unique challenge. And the only way that we can scale that up is through AI.
And the reason that presumably you partner with Visa is they allow you to modify the transaction details because otherwise.
Yeah, and it also is that the people need to be able to cash out. They need to have sometimes hard currency in order to go buy food, water, medicine, etc. It would be great if we could all give them crypto, but they can't physically spend it in many of those places.
And in terms of the tracking, you can track them up to the point in which they are converting to fiat.
Yeah, we can, even, we're starting to experiment with the ability to use image recognition because some organizations want to know what they spend. Are they getting enough calories per day? And so we're able to take a photo of what they spend and then use AI to generate, okay, this was a carton of milk, or it was flour, or it was rice, or et cetera. Yeah.
In terms of monetization, is the parent organization the one that's paying you currently?
No, we went to Visa and other payment aggregators, and we said, hey, we'll bring you this channel of humanitarian payments if you lower your fees down to this amount, and then we put a revenue share in there so that nothing is borne by the humanitarians. It's all coming out of the revenue that those payment organizations would make. And then we just give away the platform for free because, as long as they make enough payments, then it's easy for us to do that.
It also benefits Visa because of lower costs monitoring the transactions that would have been.
Yeah, and then if you want to add on top of that, many of these people they're unbanked. They never have opened their first bank account, but the NGO has already collected the payment data. They've already collected the KYC, and so with the consent of that beneficiary, we're able to say, hey, can we open your first bank account? And of course, that's beneficial to many of the banks who want that client, and also beneficial to Visa.
For some of these users that are kind of off the grid, how do you get any sort of data that you're parsing through target that user should be the recipient?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple digital tools. So we make sure that they're asking the right questions, first of all, so they're collecting the right data. And then there's literally an army of people going out into those refugee camps, going out into those affected areas with a tablet or a smartphone, and they're collecting all of that data. If it's really off the grid, then yeah, they're just collecting it with a paper and pencil and then digitizing it afterwards. Yeah.
Let's give it one more time for AI Donic.
Thanks, guys.
What a great way to kick off this showcase, and great questions from the judges. Wish we had more time. So following up is Angela Hoover from Andy.
Search is broken. 94% of AI chats contain wrong information, and 91% of search results contain ads or spam. 79% of people don't trust AI tools. It's not just annoying, it's actually dangerous. So, what's the solution to this? What if there was a way to fix this problem, to make search magical again? That's Andy. We've built a brand new type of proprietary backend that can understand content at its core. Our new system not only can take the keywords, but it actually understands the meaning behind web pages, so it can filter out the ads and spam and misinformation. This allows us to have high-quality search results and to deliver accurate, direct answers to questions. We started this journey in 2021, long before ChatGPT was a household name. This head start gave us a critical insight. Accuracy is everything. Without it, you can't build anything else, and it's what builds users' trust, and it's what keeps users coming back. Now, you might be wondering, how do we know if this is true? How do we know if it's really better? Well, in an independent study run by Talc, an AI benchmarking company backed by YC, Andy came out with 87% accuracy. Google, 80%. ChatGPT, 62%. And perplexity, 59%. We're not just a little bit better, we're in a different league. We're like the Moneyball Oakland A's, building a winning team on a shoestring budget, while our competitors are like the Yankees, spending millions for worse results. But this isn't just about test scores. We hit 1 million users organically, growing 29% month over month. And 67% of our users say that they would be very disappointed if they could no longer use Google. This is the type of loyalty that can take on Google. We're building for the next generation. 46% of our users are under 25, more than Snapchat. And these are the sort of tech-savvy early adopters who can evangelize the product and influence the people that they know. Now, we're at a turning point. We're about to deploy Trantora at full scale, and we're supercharging our product with accuracy and speed. We're launching clip marks, which can create viral network effects through shareable AI-powered knowledge collections. And here's where it gets really exciting. We're following the playbook of successful AI apps like 11 Labs and Midjourney. Our freemium model isn't just about getting consumer growth. It's a gateway to enterprise adoption. We're not just changing how individuals search. We want to transform how businesses find and use information. We're missionaries. To us, this isn't just a product. This is an opportunity to fundamentally make the web great again, and change and cut through the noise and get to the truth. Imagine a world where anybody, from a small student in a small village to a CEO in a boardroom, has instant access to high-quality, accurate, trustworthy information. Where ideas spread based on merit, not on marketing budgets. And where knowledge isn't just power, but it's a fundamental right. That's the world we're building with Andy. And it's a $1.4 trillion market that's ripe for disruption. So join us. Be a part of this search revolution. Let's make the internet magical again together. Thank you.
All right, let's do one question from the judges each.
Could you tell us a little bit? It's amazing what you've been able to develop on a very small budget, especially compared to your peers. How did you do that?
So since the beginning from Andy, we've always tried to build it cost effectively. And on the back end, we actually have an LLM router. So we take a score of how complex the query is, and then we route it to different LLMs. So that's helped us a lot with keeping the cost down.
And can you just remind me one more time, how many users do you guys currently have?
So we hit 1 million users, and we're currently at 300,000. We started to run out of cash, so we had to turn some of our models down. But yeah, we hit 1 million monthly actives.
It's really impressive. If you were to segment the user profiles and what are they using Andy for, what are the predominant use cases?
So it's a lot of research-based queries. We're seeing like young students that have just gotten a computer science degree using Andy for their school research and then also coding. Because Andy can generate code.
And how did they find out about you guys?
It's all been through viral growth. People started sharing it on TikTok and making videos about Andy, and that's how it spread.
All right, let's give it up one more time for Andy. Next up, we have Daniela Alfer from DeepKeep.
Hello, everyone. Obviously, I'm not Daniela, I'm Guy, but I'm still from DeepKeep. Okay. In DeepKeep, we are in power of AI and LLM with security and trustworthiness. As you may know, a lot of organizations today, banks, insurance companies, automotive companies, security, and more, are implementing AI and Gen AI into their organization, but they have a huge problem of security and trustworthiness. We are addressing we are addressing 5 main problems: adversarial attacks, actually manipulation of AI, cyber attacks. A lot of the AI today are starting from an open source. Nobody knows where they are coming from. Privacy issue, trustworthiness, mistakes of AI, biases, weak spots, and so on. And of course, LLM, which is all of us, I assume, use chats today. They have huge amount of problems of hallucination, jailbreak, prompt injections, and more. We have a software platform that actually has 4 main pillars. The first 2 are basically pre-deployment. We are doing risk assessment, running pen test and test over the AI model and the data set in order to understand the vulnerabilities. Of course, everything is automatically. You can just get the vulnerability risk assessment report, and through that, go into prevention layer, which automatically provides you with security features to mitigate the problems you found in stage 1. The third and the fourth are basically a firewall and a real-time security mechanism that allow you to run in real time and search for other and real-time risks. We are securing and trustworthiness both pre-deployment, post-deployment, focusing specifically on computer vision and LLM and multimodality. So we are the only one actually covering all of those. Just a quick overview of how we work in real time. On the left side, you see the LLM user. On the right side is the LLM itself, where we are acting as a proxy between the user and the LLM. Any question comes from the user. For example, where can I buy drugs? We block it. By the way, we are context aware. So if it's a pharmacy or healthcare company, if the question was, where can I buy drugs? It's legit, therefore we let it go. From the LLM, if we find any problems, mistake, hallucination, biases problem, we block it, we clean it, only then we are sending it to the user. So overall, we are supporting the security side of the user, and of course privacy, along with the LLM itself. We are focusing on large enterprises, banks, insurance companies, where they have a lot of customer and they are launching chatbots and so, critical infrastructures as well. We are selling annual licenses for tens and thousands of dollars. And the growth that you see here is the amazing growth of month by month, 77%, which actually reflects to you the not just the problem, but also how a lot of companies are aware of this problem and trying to take measurements toward that. And of course, compliance and regulation is also part of it. We did a seed round in 2022. We are launching this, we're kicking off the A round those days. That's it.
All right, quick round of questions.
Impressive progress. I was wondering if you'd be willing to share some, some examples of customer use cases.
Yeah, sure. I think that the coolest use case that we know coming from one of our customers in one of the big banks in the US, where the service, customer service is actually getting a call, recorded, translated automatically to text. The text is going to the LLM. The LLM provides an answer to the customer where it's going through a person. So he actually can pick the right answer coming from the LLM, providing it to the customer. So overall, this cycle, which is, of course, man in the loop, is a very effective because the answers are coming very quickly from the LLM, so the human doesn't need actually to think about what the possibilities are. Along with the return of investment, a lot of the customers are saying it's a very good, solution, along with the fastness of the answer as well.
And sorry, where does DeepKeep sit in that process?
So we are actually inside the LLM itself. We are both on the LLM for the organization itself. So we are securing the LLM inside. So the manpower inside the organization is actually using an LLM for its internal uses. On the other hand, for this specific use case, we are also providing the security and the trustworthiness of the LLM towards the customer. So we're making sure there's no biases, of course, there's no, for example, one of the nice use cases is that in insurance company, when you're asking for insurance for your car, a lot of the companies saying if you are a woman, you get better price. By the way, for risk in the matter of getting money from the bank, women are less, I mean, men are more making sense, getting more better offering from the bank. So in that matter, we are actually sitting in between the LLM and the user and providing secured and trustworthiness answers.
Let's give it up one more time for DeepKeep.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Epitel.
All right. We at Epitel are democratizing brain health monitoring with a simple wearable that enables remote EEG monitoring no matter where you are. We've developed the first AI-enabled long-term wireless wearable EEG. Now, you can walk into a local clinic and walk out today with a wireless Holter monitor, but your chances of getting an EEG in your neighborhood hospital are slim to none. Yet 9.2 million people are suspected of having a seizure in the hospital each year. And that's not to mention how long-term monitoring could help those outside the hospital. Detecting seizures is very important. 1 in 10 people will have a seizure in their lifetime. Now, that doesn't mean that you have epilepsy, although epilepsy is a seizure disorder that affects 3.4 million people in the US. And to put that into perspective, the number of people living with epilepsy is twice the number of people living with type 1 diabetes. Our system is called REMI for remote EEG monitoring, and it uses 4 of our wearable sensors that are placed on the scalp below the hairline for remote interpretation by a neurologist. REMI is FDA cleared for 30 days of continuous use. It's discreet and allows you to go about your daily routine unencumbered by traditional wired tethers and gauze head wraps. Now, outside the hospital, a traditional ambulatory EEG lasts about 3 days, and it's only about 28% effective at actually capturing a seizure. And that's because most people with new onset epilepsy only have an average seizure rate of about 1 to 2 seizures a month. So capturing these events are very difficult, and we're trying to solve that. The challenge with EEG monitoring is that a neurologist literally reviews this data beat by beat, and they're looking for these seizure patterns, these needles in the haystack. And that's where AI comes in, of course. And REMI Vigilance AI for event detection is our FDA-cleared automated seizure detection software. It's meant to take weeks and weeks of EEG data and convert it into clinically actionable information that a neurologist can quickly go from event to event to event and determine, is my patient experiencing seizures? Now, we also use a number of AI models to detect these seizure events that we can rank by their sensitivity and false alarm rate. And the actual model that we use to detect the event is tuned to be highly sensitive at the risk of a number of false positives. But we can ask the models that have lower and lower sensitivity, do you still detect the event? And if you do, then our probability of actually detecting an electrographic seizure goes up simply due to the fact that as sensitivity drops, so does our false alarm rate. So REMI Vigilance AI marks each event with a confidence level from low to very high that a neurologist can then review. Okay, so what does this look like in the real world? This is a 32-year-old mother of 2 who was having spells. So her neurologist had her go into the hospital in the epilepsy monitoring unit for a 5-day recording. And what did they capture in the hospital? Nothing. So she was devastated because she was still having her spells at home. So her neurologist prescribed for her REMI for 7 days, and she was literally in tears because she didn't have to take off from work, and she didn't have to find someone to watch her kids for an entire week. She even asked the neurologist, can I go to the beach? And the answer is yes. And so this is what REMI Vigilance AI detected. On day 3, we see a high confidence event, and on day 4, a very high confidence event. And on the left, we see that high confidence event on day 3. And it's difficult to show what a seizure looks like in a static image, but this is indeed an electrographic seizure. And it corresponded with her spell. Now, the very high confidence event on day 4 was also a seizure, but she didn't know it. And it's because it occurred at 2 o'clock in the morning and she was asleep. But now her neurologist has objective evidence that her spells are indeed seizures and can treat her accordingly. And with that, thank you for your time.
Could you talk a little bit about how much retraining of the physician you need to do to help them understand the statistical outputs of the models that you're producing?
Yeah, the output of the model is not that difficult to train them on. It's more of these neurologists, epileptologists are used to reviewing 21 channels of EEG, and they've done this for years and years. And now we're now showing them a reduced channel EEG, a 10-channel EEG. So it looks nothing like they've seen in the past. And so that's the part that kind of they need to become familiar with saying that this is a seizure in this kind of montage.
How many patients have you been trying this live with?
Yeah, so we were trying to follow the model of a company called iRhythm that makes a wireless Holter monitor. And they were able to train their machine learning AI on EKG records that they purchased that were well annotated. But nothing like this existed in the EEG space. So we had to effectively create our own. And so we were mostly sponsored by NIH to record with our sensors alongside a traditional wired EEG. We have over 82,000 hours of EEG that we then use to train our machine learning AI for the detection of these events.
Got it. So it sounds like you guys are in the data collection, production collection right now and training your model.
No, we do have the FDA clearance for those models, and it's now commercially available.
Got it.
Great, give it up one more time for Epitel.
Great, thank you.
Great group of startups. Next up is Forward.
So hi everyone, my name is Kobe Stock and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Forward. And my story begins a few years back when I was leading product for a company called WalkMe. We had a massive churn issue in one of our segments. And we wanted to build a model that will predict churn based on product usage. So we assembled a team of analysts, data scientists, DevOps, and IT, and it took us a year to build a model that accurately predicts accounts that are likely to churn. The complexity of the process and the impact that the process did was so big that I thought that we need to make this automated. We need to improve this process. The model was so accurate that we even take the compensation of the CSMs and made it to fit to the model. And because it was such a big problem, I thought to myself that there are many companies out there that facing the same challenge, and this is exactly Forward. And Forward is an AI platform that automates the entire data science process end to end. And it all starts with data ROI. Companies in the past decade are collecting tons of data, from email opens, to marketing activities, to sales activities, to support tickets, right? And the data that's collected, that's massive. And in parallel, technologies of analyzing this data is also improving from companies like Tableau, Looker, and others that enable analysts to curate data and to distribute dashboards to the organization. And now with AI, we have a very massive opportunity to enable the non-technical people to curate data and increase data ROI so they can increase business decisions and make things more optimal for their teams. We have implemented and automated AI data scientists that automate the entire data science workflow. Remember the process that I've shared before around how complicated was it? So we took the process, we broke it down, and we implemented AI agents for every piece of the process. So now we enable every operation person in the organization, if it's marketing, sales, customer success, product, finance, to do an end-to-end data science workflow. And we make them the best analysts and the best data scientists all the way to enabling the team with insights and capabilities that they couldn't do before. Our vision is simple. We want to be the foresight hub of an enterprise. So when a CIO now, when they buy Tableau and Looker, and they distribute dashboards, and they have poor adoptions, and they need to enable the team around using the dashboards because between you and I, not a lot of people know how to read those complex dashboards. We want to make this an enterprise foresight where the team can actually build a scalable, integrated, predictive layer that enables hyper-automated. So I was Kobe Stock. I invite you to check out our website at forward.ai. Thank you very much.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on underneath the hood? Like how is your platform producing the insights? What are you doing with the data being collected?
Yeah. So we collect data from multiple systems. We have more than 20 integrations from data warehouses, marketing automation, CRMs, etc. Once we get the data, we developed micro LLMs that normalizes the information and attributes it. So we know which data point, what family is it from, whether it's marketing data, sales data, activity, so on and so forth, and we also normalize it. Because enterprise data is not normalized and accurate, so we optimize the data for machine learning. After that, we implemented a full-on process that automates the data analyst work, from cleansing to data modeling, etc. And that's our own proprietary technology, which we are developing in the past 3 years. And after that, we enable the user actually to build their own predictive models that's based on LLMs and also standard machine learning that kind of work together.
One of the challenges in working with large language models is that they're non-deterministic. Blending it with BI data tends to produce inaccurate results or sometimes different results to the same question. How do you mitigate that risk?
Yeah, that's a very challenging aspect across the board. So what we did, we made the process open. Meaning we are not black boxing the process, but we opened the process and we automate 90% of it. So every piece of the process, when the user builds the model, when the user sees the data, they have a way to review it, to understand it. And on the end user, we don't only provide predictions, but also explanations. Right? So you don't have the propensity of someone to buy or to convert or to churn. You also get the reasons of why they do it. So you can enable playbooks on top of that. It's a very specific playbooks based on the explanation.
Can you share a little bit about the traction to date?
Yeah, most of our customers are here in the US. We have one of the biggest CRM companies, I'm not mentioning names, that's using the product to automate the entire marketing operations. One of the biggest LLM provider is using us at the same. We have around 20 use cases currently in production, hundreds of models, millions of productions of predictions, that we do daily. And yeah, we're growing super fast. We started actually monetizing only beginning of this year.
Congrats.
Thank you very much.
All right, give it up one more time for Forward AI.
Thank you very much.
All right, up next we have Justice Text.
All right. In 2015, I left my hometown to attend school in Chicago. As I settled in, I fell in love with the city, its history, and its people. But as I soon came to discover, Chicago is a rather complicated place. It's a city in which a 17-year-old unarmed black American boy by the name of Laquan McDonald was shot 16 times by a local police officer. That officer only received 7 years as punishment, but without the dashcam video of the incident, there likely would have been no accountability at all. More and more police interactions are being caught on camera than ever before. Well over 50% of law enforcement agencies have already rolled out body cameras, and typical police department captures tens of thousands of hours of footage per year. As a society, we've invested well over $100 million in rolling out this technology, but we failed to ask the question, how does this actually lead to greater accountability? What most people don't realize is that the current system to analyze this data is broken. A South Dakota public defender recently said that there's no way physically possible for him to review the sheer volume of video he receives. But reviewing this data is critical because it reveals information not captured in police reports. It reveals information that could redirect people's lives before they experience the harms of incarceration. My name is Leslie. I am the CTO and co-founder of Justice Text. During my senior year in college, I reached out to my local public defense agency and told them I wanted to try and make a difference. We started building powerful AI technology to distill thousands of hours of footage into critical insights for these attorneys. Our software transcribes this video in a matter of minutes And we leverage machine learning to automatically generate summaries and timelines of key events. Our latest release, dubbed Miranda AI, leverages large language models to help attorneys analyze an entire caseload worth of information. Miranda AI can highlight inconsistencies across witness statements, detect leading questions in police interrogations, and automatically build a case timeline within a matter of seconds. As a public defender, I can jump to the exact moment my client was Mirandized, administered a field sobriety test, or placed under arrest. Justice Text is also the only platform that empowers attorneys to transcribe and analyze data from a wide range of proprietary file formats, breaking through the barriers created by monopolistic jail call providers and body cam manufacturers. We started as a small school project and now are serving over 50 major public defenders' offices in major cities like Portland, Houston, and DC, and entire states like Tennessee, Massachusetts, and Ohio. Since January, we have processed over 50,000 hours of footage, saving attorneys countless hours, which have been used to dismiss charges and reduce sentences of numerous defendants. We are a highly technical and diverse team, bringing expertise from Microsoft, Google, and Meta. I'm an ex-Google engineer who is working to address the most pressing technical challenges for local criminal justice agencies. Join me as we revolutionize the legal world, transforming overwhelming video and audio data into justice served. Thank you.
This is a really cool use case.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Congratulations on the traction.
Really appreciate that.
I was wondering, again, if you could describe a little bit on what you're doing underneath the hood, like which LLMs are you using to parse the text, and what are you doing on top of that, and also in terms of guardrails, right? I think there's a lot higher consequences of things like hallucinations here, and so how are you addressing some of those challenges?
Yeah, so I would say the core thing that we do is transcribe this audio data. Before our technology, they didn't actually transcribe anything. They might say, maybe this video, that set of jail calls, I wanted to get transcribed, and that would cost a whole bunch of money. So first and foremost, they have this new sort of surface by which they can quickly scan the data and see if anything comes out that is relevant or interesting for the particular case that they're building. When it comes to the LLMs, we are right now using OpenAI, and yeah, we're just sending these transcripts to, as part of the context, and they'll provide their own prompt, their own case details. And yeah, we'll do our best to kind of surface the relevant details. Of course, we kind of make sure we let them know that you need to double check the work, and we kind of assist them in doing this by saying, this is something that's relevant to your query, this is the timestamp of it, so you can click that timestamp, you can go to the portion of the video that is discussed, and you can verify the information that we brought up via the LLM query. Yep.
Really impressive. How important is it for you that the transcript and the documentation you produce is acceptable in court? Is that important or not?
No,
important?
not so important. For a court-certified document, that's a whole process that it wasn't actually necessary to save our users time for us to produce that. We do have a human transcription service on our platform, and so some of our users will use that when they want to, but that's very expensive. It takes about 24 hours to produce that. So yeah, for our users, this is an excellent starting place. They're uploading jail calls, body cams. Audio's not perfect. It's pretty bad a lot of the times, actually, and so that transcript's not going to be perfect, but it's so much better than what they had before, which was nothing, actually. So they're saving a whole bunch of time. Yeah.
All right, give it up one more time for Justice
Thank
Text.
you so much.
So up next, we have Norn AI.
I'm here to introduce you to AGI Laboratory and our principal technology, Norn. Offering true scalable intelligence to the world, we are fundamentally different from current AI. I'll explain and use an example. I guess the VCs in the room receive over 1,000 pitches a year and typically invest in 3 or 4 of those. How much time can you really spend on each pitch? How much do you rely on intuition or on bias, especially in the first selection? How many gems and synergies do you miss simply because you don't have time to really dive into the details of each pitch? You've probably considered how AI can help you apply it in the critical process of selection. Today's tech is great at collecting and ordering data and presenting that in a way that sounds plausible, but it lacks transparency and reliability, and as such, it cannot really serve most corporate decisions. Now, imagine a system that greatly accelerates analysis while reducing noise and cognitive biases, allowing your team to dive deeper into more proposals. How many more of those gems might such an advantage produce? Norn provides that advantage. Reliable, efficient, human-like AI that delivers on essential elements of what can be expected from beneficial technology. Norn is flexible. Oh, it helps if I use this. I'm sorry. Norn is flexible and provides similar advantages to any business facing complex decisions. This could include businesses in your own portfolio, among many others. A decision maker needs comprehensive, relevant, rapid, or accurate information. And better information, fact-checked, transparent, and less biased will lead to better human decisions. We need that, don't we? Imagine the value of technology that can provide those better insights quicker, considering company policies and culture, while ensuring that the outcome complies with the highest expectations for customers and society. Norn can offer those insights quickly with human-like understanding and reasoning. Norn is extremely scalable. It's over 10,000 times more data efficient and doesn't bottleneck on GPUs, making profitability a near future reality instead of a distant corporate desire. Norn adheres to the strictest version of the EU AI Act, and it holds a substantial moat for the same reason, because we build it from scratch and not from spin-off technologies like LLMs. Even correcting the value of AI companies today for the hype that we seem to be exiting now, AI is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And a company that can deliver on a promise of responsible AI will be the front runner. AGI Laboratory can do that. We already are talking to interested users who recognize how advanced AI can help them achieve their goals better and more quickly. We can complete development and have the first We can complete development and have the first marketable application ready within 30 months of receiving funding. We seek $25 million, mostly to onboard developers and build infrastructure to further grow the business. A business with a technical moat entering a blue ocean market outside of the typical scope of AI. We have invented, designed, built, and tested technology that will deliver responsible AI. Bootstrapped, disruptive, and unconventional. Quite simply, there is nothing like it. And it's getting closer. This week, we put one of our systems to the ARC AGI challenge, reaching a score of 74%, pending their third-party validation. Note that no commercial system has passed over 21%, and no other technical company has reached more than 40%. Norn systems will be the new standard for AI, reaching boardrooms, executives, government cabinets, and decision makers of all sorts. And with your investment, it will help to get us there quicker and will help change the world in many ways.
Thank you very much. Any quick questions?
I think I'm still a little bit trying to figure out what the product does. And so can you just describe a use case of Norm right now in deployment?
In your case as a VC, you get so many data, so many pitches, and you need to go through them. And it's manual work you need to do because you want to make sure you understand and you take out the best parts. So it's really condensing a lot of data, understanding it, human-like understanding. So the system is going to read it as your assistants would read it, but they can do it much quicker and much faster than any assistant could do. And they can take out the bits that you believe are important for your portfolio and take out not only the three ones that seem most likely, but the ones that are most likely because of you've been able to really go deep into all of the 1,000 pitches.
Great. Tom, quick one.
I was just going to ask a quick clarifying question. My understanding from your pitch is that you're not using off-the-shelf models.
No.
And so can you talk a little bit about the technology that you are using?
The technology that we've built, and the founders are both on the spectrum, so they don't have a concept of time. They just have great ideas. We've built a functioning cognitive architecture that works with graph databases to make sure that before you enter something, or the moment something is entered, the system understands the question that you're asking, and it's going to look for information that's relevant to the question that you have. So rather than scanning a library full of books and try to probabilistically come to an answer, the system goes to the same library, to the shelf and the books that the information is in, and will collect that, and will be able to trace back in its answer where it got its information from. So you don't need to be concerned of whether it's transparent or not. We can always double check it.
One more time for Norn AI.
Thank you.
And the last startup presentation is by GUI AI.
Hi, everybody. The point of artificial intelligence, like every other tool, is to increase human productivity. And one of the places where we see that need felt more acutely than most is actually among frontline workers. 80% of the global workforce is actually deskless. 90% of all US organizations employ frontline workers. And 2 million of those jobs went unfilled last year. And then particularly with COVID, a whole generation of AC technicians, plumbers, farmers, nurses, just left the workforce. And there's an incredible amount of residual knowledge, right, for training that's now no longer available inside this workforce globally. And then additionally, if you're an organization that's either hiring or trying to empower frontline workers globally or in the US, you're facing the same struggle as every other organization on earth right now, which is how do you keep up with AI such that you can basically, you don't get or you're replaced by your competitors that are basically leveraging AI better. And then, we see a struggle for these organizations, just like, frankly, every other, which is how do you figure out what people are actually doing in their field with AI, and then see if you can find and fork that and make that work on your own model or your own business. And then two, how do you balance this incredible set of innovation and weekly new models that are coming out and not get locked into any of them, but ideally take the superset of all of that value and apply it into your particular use case? And then third, in a world where all of these things have to be hot swapped constantly, how do you run golden evaluation so you know which model, which prompt, which RAG, which ASR, which translation engine, or any combination of that inside of a larger workflow works better for your particular use case? So whether it's faster, whether it's cheaper, whether it's basically more performant, or more and more we see which is using less carbon as well. We think the solution to a lot of this is workflows. So what's a workflow in this sense? This is essentially an abstracted set of AI prompts that allows organizations to basically, in the two cases you see here, take in tons of wisdom that they have collected, in this case, thousands of videos and documents. In the case of Digital Green that you see down here at the bottom, that's basically making a set of WhatsApp bots that we demoed at the UN's General Assembly Science Assembly last year, that then one of our other customers saw that recipe and then in an afternoon was able to fork that. And literally his feedback to us was, hey, in an afternoon, we were able to replace the work that our developers have been working on for 3 months, and we had 4 of them, and we only got to 60% of what we were able to get in an afternoon by basically forking the workflow that was on top of GUI. And so this was a multilingual RAG bot on top of WhatsApp with hundreds of documents, with page-level citations that would go to any of those documents that spoke, in this particular case, Swahili, with analytics built in so you could see usage, and then additionally a golden data set so you could evaluate any change to that model to see if it's better. This was picked, the story of Farmer Chat in that demo was also picked by The Guardian, right? And then we get other customers that look like, in this particular case, an HVAC roll-up, who are basically buying up HVAC companies all over the country, but at a technical level have a very similar set of problems of a large, complex set of documents and knowledge repository, and trying to make all that available in the field, in this particular case, as a Slack bot, and on top of Siri, so that folks can basically fix an AC that they see out in the field. In terms of the traction that we've had thus far, it's pretty good. We have an interesting kind of unique lead gen engine because everything is shareable as a workflow. It doesn't have to be, but you can. That's been really good for SEO and get people to come in. So we've got about 11,000 weekly users that are running recipes. There's free credit, so everybody gets $10. We've had about 700 buyers in this year, in 2024. But for us, the most exciting part is actually these big enterprise customers. And so these are folks that are spending more than 50,000 and up to 500,000. And our pipeline for that looks really exciting. So we've got 3.5 million or 3 million in the pipeline, and we're confident about 2 of that will actually close in the next 3.5 months. So we're feeling pretty good about that. And then finally, in terms of the team, my name's Sean. I was at Microsoft for a long time. I moved out to India in 2004 to help start the research lab there, and then ran a job site for frontline workers, cooks and maids, drivers, that became the largest informal sector job site in India, and sold that to the biggest classified player. I'm joined by my CTO. I've worked for the last 3 years, who's literally the most prolific developer, and our chief revenue officer, Steve, who basically drove PitchBook to 100 million in ARR. And we're basically raising to basically make the GUI the place where organizations involved with frontline productivity can come and find those recipes and make that work for their organizations.
All right, thank you, GUI AI. So we have time for maybe one really quick question from either or.
So really impressive traction in sales. So I was wondering, who do you go up against primarily, since there are a number of other tools that can do this internally, and why do you guys win?
So it's diverse, right? One, I think transparency ends up being a big factor for us, which is namely, you can use any model that you've got underneath, but it's not just the LLM models that you can hot swap compare. You can do that for every RAG engine. But we also run things like all of the top ASR engines. So like I was talking with the justice folks, we allow evaluation comparisons across every single one of the top ASR models too. So the ability to connect not only the models, but the connections of functions, and then also the communication platforms, and then allow that to be a creative or a collaborative artifact that a team could work on, that where you're really just dealing at the prompts and the connections between them. Those are reasons that we win. It's the speed of iteration that we then allow, right? We have organizations that have built 50 internal, and every single project that they're now building is itself a GUI workflow that they can then deploy in a matter of minutes as a bot, as a Twilio bot, on top of all of them. All right. So it's the superset that I think allows us to win.
Let's give it up one more time for GUI AI.
Thank you.
All right, so Tom and Amy, what we're going to do is Courtney's going to come grab the cards from you. I'm going to ask you, she's going to total up the scores, we're going to announce the winners, but before, in the process of doing that, I'm just going to ask you for a quick 15-second sort of takeaway that you have for the audience who's itching to learn more about how they ought to approach building their AI startups. Tom, you want to start off?
I think we look for 3 different things in looking at AI startups. The first is, particularly at the application layer, we look for toil, so really repetitive work. We saw a lot of examples of that on stage, whether that's examining EEG readouts or transcribing audio. We look for a labor market shortage, not enough people to do a particular task. So maybe there aren't enough accountants who are graduating from CPA credit schools. And then the third thing we look for is a hiring manager who has an urgent need to hire somebody. The combination of those 3 things sets up a buying environment where somebody needs a solution now and is willing to tolerate some of the challenges associated with AI, so like the stochasticism or non-determinism of these models. So a 75 or an 80% accurate solution is good enough to fill the need.
The question is, what are we looking for in the
Just
application layer?
any last-minute quick takeaways you have for the audience just on how you think about building AI startups?
Yeah, well, from a team perspective, if you're building an AI native company, we're looking at a combination of understanding of go-to-market and then also some sort of technical edge, ideally embedded in the team. And then in the application layer, it's pretty hard to change behavior and get someone to use a new tool versus an incumbent, especially right now. I would say that budgets are generally fairly restrained and will continue to be so. So it really needs to be doing something better and ideally cheaper, like order of magnitude for an organization. I think for us to see kind of this pull of adoption beyond your first enthusiastic adopters.
Great. And so we've got the winner. Before I announce it, just want to say, congratulations and kudos to every startup that came on stage and put their heart out. It takes a lot to build a company, to put yourself on stage for everyone to see and evaluate. So thank you to all the startups. But with all that being said, the winner of this year's Startup Showcase is Justice Text.